In the village of Obodogho, nestled between rolling hills and thick forest, lived a young woman named Nneka. She was the daughter of Ogechi and Ikenna, respected elder in the village. Nneka was known for her beauty and lively spirit. She could laugh and sing as she walked, and her eyes sparkled with dreams of love and adventure. However, there was one thing that concerned her parents. Nneka had fallen in love with a young man named Kalu. Kalu was tall, with a charming smile and a way with words that could make any heart skip a beat. But Ogechi and Ikenna, though fond of their daughter, had heard troubling things about Kalu. He is not the man he seems to be, Ogechi warned. Many of the elders have seen him with bad company. His friends are known to do things that no one in this village should be associated with. Ikenna, though a man of few words, also advised Nneka. Nneka, my daughter, there are many men in this world, but not all of them have good hearts. Please listen to your mother and I. Kalu is not the one for you. But Nneka, being a young and full of dreams, refused to listen. She loved Kalu with all her heart. She believed in him, in his promises, and the affection he showed her. You don't understand, mother and father, she will say. Kalu is different. He will prove everyone wrong. Her parents were heartbroken but did not give up on their daughter. They continued to advise her to be careful, but Nneka was determined to follow her own heart, even if it led her away from their guidance. Day turns into weeks, and Kalu's presence in Nneka's life grew stronger. He would visit her often, showering her with sweet words and gifts. He spoke of their future together, of a life full of love and joy. But the village elder, who had seen Kalu's behavior and his associates, grew more worried. He is not good for Nneka, they whispered to one another. His heart is full of lust and greed. He will bring her nothing but sorrow. One fateful evening, as the moon rose high in the sky, Nneka followed Kalu into the forest. He had promised her to take her to a special place, one where they could be alone, away from the prying eye of the village. But as they ventured deeper into the forest, something felt wrong. The air grew colder, and the trees seemed to close in around them. Nneka's heart begins to race, but she ignored the feelings. She trusted Kalu. After all, he had never given her a reason to doubt him. Where are we going? Voice trembling slightly. We are almost there, Kalu replied with a grin, his eyes dark and mysterious. As they walked further, Nneka noticed the flicker of the torchlight in the distance. It was then that she realized Kalu had brought her into a part of the forest where she had never been, a part that was known for dark secrets and the whispers of witchcraft. Before Nneka could say anything, Kalu turned to her and said, "Stay close, Nneka. I have brought you here for something special." Suddenly, he heard laughter, a low, airy sound that made her skin crawl. The group of men surrounding them were not strangers to her. They were the very same people her parents had warned her about. Their faces were cold, their eyes filled with malice. "Welcome, Nneka," one of them sneered. "We've been waiting for you." Nneka heart pounded in her chest as she realized the truth. Kalu had never loved her. He had only used her to bring her into this dangerous place. But it was too late. The circle had already closed around her. She tried to run, but Kalu grabbed her arms, pulling her back. "You should have listened," he whispered cruelly. And in that moment, Nneka understood the cost of ignoring her parents' advice. It was a cost she would never get a chance to pay back. Nneka struggled, her heart racing as Kalu gripped tightly on her arm. The coldness in his eye, once a source of attraction, now sent shivers through her entire body. She wanted to scream, to run back to the village where she was safe, but the men around her were blocking her escape, their faces twisted with wicked smiles. "Let me go," she cried, her voice desperate. Kalu's laughter echoed through the forest. "You should have listened, Nneka. This was always the plan. You will never meet for anything more than this." His words stung like a slap. Nneka's mind raced, trying to remember everything her parents had told her. They had warned her about men like Kalu, men who only wanted to use her and discard her when they are done. She should have trusted them, should have listened. One of the men stepped forward, a tall Vigo with a scar running down his chest. He spoke in a low voice. "It is too late, Kalu. There is no turning back now." Nneka breath came in shallow gasps, her legs weak beneath her. Her mind scrambled for a way out, but the men around her seemed to close in like shadow in the night. It was then that she remembered something her father had once told her. "In times of danger, do not panic. Remember your strength, remember your wisdom, and above all, trust your heart." With all the strength she could muster, Nneka pushed Kalu away from her and took a step back. Her heart beat loudly in her chest, but her mind began to clear. There had to be a way out. There had to be. "Nneka, stop," Kalu called, his voice filled with anger. But Nneka did not stop. Instead, she turned and ran. The men chased after her, their footsteps pounding in the night. But Nneka pushed herself harder, running faster than she ever had been before. The forest seems to stretch endlessly before her, the trees swaying in winds like silent witnesses to her flight. She could hear Kalu's voice behind her, his calls growing more frantic. "You cannot outrun me, Nneka. You belong here now." Nneka's mind was focused, her feet carrying her through the dense underbrush. She had to reach the village, had to get safety. The fear in her chest was replaced with a fire of determination. She did not let herself be caught, not after everything her parents had warned her about. But the forest was vast, and she was losing her way. The familiar path she thought she could follow had disappeared, replaced by thick vine and tangled roots. Her breath came in raised gasps, and her legs were beginning to ache from the strain. Then Just as she was beginning to doubt whether she should make it, she heard something that gave her hope. The distant sound of voices, familiar voices, calling her name. Nneka, Nneka. Her heart surged with a new burst of energy. The village, her parents, the elders, they were searching for her. She pushed herself harder, her leg aching with each step, but her spirit was lifted. The voices grew louder, closer, and soon she broke through the forest and into a clearing. She saw them, her father, Ikenna, her mother, Ogechi, and the village elders, all with torches in hand. Nneka, Ogechi cried, running toward her. Nneka collapsed into her mother's arm, tears streaming down her face. Mama, Papa, I was so scared, she sobbed, her body trembling with relief. Ikenna stepped forward, his face grim. We knew something was wrong, Nneka. We knew Kalu was leading you into danger. Nneka looked back toward the forest, but the men were no longer in sight. Kalu's voice was now a distant echo. She had escaped, but at what cost? She had almost lost everything she had there. Her father's voice was stern but kind as he spoke. You are safe now, my daughter, but you must understand the lesson of tonight. Not all that glitter is gold. Your heart is spacious, Nneka, and it must be guided well. Lust and deceit can lead you to darkness, but love built on trust and respect will always guide you home. Nneka nodded, feeling a weight left from her chest. She was safe, and for the first time, she realized just how much her parent love had protected her all along. But as they walked back to the village, Nneka could not shake the feelings that the danger was not over. Kalu had promised her a future together, and she feared he would not let her go so easily. She had escaped his grasp tonight, but she knew he was still out there, somewhere in the darkness, with his lustful heart waiting to strike again. The walk back to the village was long, but Nneka felt a strange sense of peace with her parents by her side. They did not speak much, knowing that the silence between them was enough. The night event weighed heavily on their hearts, but they were grateful to have Nneka safe in their arms once more. However, the unseen feeling in Nneka's chest did not fade. He had escaped Kalu, but he was not the type to let things end so easily. She knew deep down that Kalu would not rest until he had what he wanted, and what he wanted, she now understood, was not her heart but her destruction. Day passed in the village, and the life slowly returned to normal. But Nneka stayed close to her parents, never straying far from their watchful eyes. The elders kept a close watch on the village as well, preparing for any sign that Kalu might return, but for a while there was a peace. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Nneka sat with her parents by the fire. He had been thinking about everything that had happened, and finally she spoke. Mama, Papa, Nneka began softly, her voice trembling. I know you warned me. I was foolish. I thought love could change him, but I was wrong. I should have listened. Ogechi placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. Her touch warmed and comforting. You did not know, Nneka, love can be blinding. But the most important thing is that you've learned to return to the light. That is all that matters. But even as he said these words, Ogechi's gaze turned distant, as though something troubled her. Ikenna too seemed lost in thought. Later that night, as Ikenna lay in bed, a soft knock at the door startled her. She rose and opened it, half expecting to see her parents, but instead it was a young villager, Nneka, looking frightening. Lady Nneka, Nneka whispered, glancing nervously over his shoulder. I think you should come with me. Confused, Nneka followed him outside. The air was thick with tension, and the stars above seemed too quiet. What is it, Nneka? She asked, her voice shaky. Nneka did not answer immediately. He only led her to the edge of the village, where a small group of villagers were gathered. Among them was Kalu. He stood in the center, his face cold, but his eyes looked into Nneka's with a look that made her blood run cold. Nneka, Kalu called out, his voice calm, though his words carried a dark edge. I see you've been hiding in your father's arms, but I have not forgotten you, and neither should you forget me. Nneka heart pounded in her chest. She was surrounded, her back to the villager watching as though paralyzed by fear. You think you can just walk away from what is ours? Kalu's voice grew colder, tainted with bitterness. I gave you everything, and yet you choose them over me, but I will not let you go so easily. Nneka's leg felt like they would give way beneath her, but she stood tall, taking a deep breath. I have no part in whatever it is you are offering, Kalu. You led me into darkness once, but I will not follow you again. I choose light. I choose truth. You have no hold over me anymore. Kalu's face twisted with rage, but before he could step forward, Ikenna appeared beside Nneka, his presence strong and unwavering. This is the end of it, Kalu. Ikenna's voice rang out, steady and commanding. You have caused enough pain. You will leave my daughter in peace or face the consequences. For a moment, there was only silence as Kalu's eyes flicked between Nneka and the villagers. His grip tightened around the knife he had hidden beneath his cloak, but he seemed to sense that this time he was outnumbered. The fire in his eyes dimmed, but his mouth twisted into a cruel smile. You might think so. You've won. But this is not over, Kalu's part. Before disappearing into the darkness, Nneka's heart was still rising, but she felt a great weight left from her chest. The danger had passed for now, but she knew the scars of the past would remain. I am sorry, Nneka, Nneka whispered. Stepping forward, we did not know he would come back like this. It is not your fault, Nneka replied quietly, her voice steady despite the fear that had gripped her moments ago. But it is over now. He has gone, and I am safe. As the villagers slowly returned to their homes, Nneka stood with her parents, gazing out into the night. It was the first time in days she felt at peace, truly at peace. The moon had seemed brighter, as though it too was relieved to see the end of the darkness that had threatened the village. The lustful heart of Kalu, filled with greed and deception, had been defeated not by force but by strength of trust, love, and the unbreakable bond between Nneka and her family. And so, with her parents by her side, Nneka finally walked away from the shadow of her past, ready to embrace a future built on trust, wisdom, and the length of a love that will never deceive her again. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more stories like this.